Today we're looking at a video from a Christian who asked,
Why doesn't God just show himself?
and well, his answers, or should I say excuses, are not very good. So, here we go.
A lot of us will ask, if there is a God and God can do anything, then why doesn't he just show himself? Then I would believe. Then everyone would believe. This whole you gotta have faith thing just seems like a lot of games.
I've asked this question as well. If God is real and can do anything and wants me, another atheist, to believe in him, why doesn't he just reveal himself? I mean, it would be a pretty simple thing for an all-powerful deity to do.
Right?
Well, it's true. God could reveal himself in any way he wants. So the question is, what would be the best way to do it?
If God is real, it doesn't matter what way I or you or anyone else thinks would be the best way for God to reveal himself, because he would know the best way. He knows everything. He would know the most convincing way, and yet he hasn't done that. It's almost as if God doesn't care, or maybe, just maybe, God doesn't exist.
But before we can answer that, we have to ask, why would God want to reveal himself to us in the first place? And I think the answer is simple. Think about it. Even if you were a God and you created people, why would you want to reveal yourself to them?
Let's think about this for just a moment. If I was God and I made people, and the consequence of not believing in me would be eternal damnation, I think I would owe it to my creation to reveal myself, unless I didn't care about their eternal well-being. If you had a son, for example, who never knew you, and you knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that unless you reveal yourself to him, he would be burned at the stake, don't you think you would owe it to him to show yourself? Or would you just be like, nah, that's alright?
Let him burn.
If your son wouldn't face grave consequences of your absence, fine. Don't reveal yourself to him, I guess. But if his eternal well-being was at risk, surely you would try everything within your power to reach him. And in this hypothetical, if you had all power and all knowledge, what would stop you from showing yourself to the poor kid?
Would it be just so that they would believe in you? Or so they could know you, have a relationship, and open up some sort of connection between you and them?
Again, if I was God, and the consequence of not believing in me was eternal damnation, I would owe it to my creation to reveal myself, unless I just didn't care, or maybe I was sadistic. Now, building relationships with my creation would just be a bonus, but if I have all the omni-properties, as the Christian God is said to have, why would I want anything in the first place? Let alone billions of individual relationships. Surely a triumphant God wouldn't desire nor need anything.
So then the question is, if there is a God, what would be the best way to reveal himself so that you and I could know him? Well, how would you do it?
Okay, I feel I must emphasize this point. An all-knowing God would know the best way to reveal himself, so our answers to this question would be moot.
You could just pull back the curtain and reveal yourself as is. But I don't think we'd be quite ready for that yet. And I don't think I could relate to a being that's so far beyond me in every single way.
Well, if God wanted to reveal himself to us, he could tone it down just a little bit.
You could cause all kinds of cosmic signs and wonders. Like, I don't know, big cosmic signs and wonders. And these would probably work for a little while, but let's be honest, people are fickle. And after the 20th or 30th cosmic wonder, we'd be like, oh good, the sun disappeared again, as I'm driving to work, in the dark, again. And there's nothing personal about some cold cosmic force.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Because if weird space phenomenon was happening right above us, it wouldn't be evidence for God or anything supernatural. It would just be weird shit no one, including religious people, would understand. I mean, really, if you think about it, there are all kinds of awesome things happening in space right now anyway. Like black holes, quasar stars, diamond planets, etc.
You could come up with a way to reveal yourself to every single person who ever walked the face of the earth individually. But doesn't this seem a little door-to-door salesman?
Hey, how's it going?
And when would you do it? At what age? For how long? Would you just show up in someone's life physically, spiritually, a voice in the head? And just for clarity and continuity, if you're going to reveal yourself, doesn't it make more sense just to do it once and for everybody, rather than billions and billions and billions of times?
But God is omnipresent. He could reveal himself to everyone currently living all at once, and continue to do so as the population increases. Isn't God said to be outside of space and time anyway? Surely this God could reveal himself to billions of people without breaking a sweat. As for what age, whatever age God would think best to reveal himself to a person. As for what form of manifestation or what method of revelation, God would know the best option. And maybe God would reveal himself differently to each person, because he would know what kind of revelation each person would need in order to be convinced of his existence. It may not be a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
I'm sure you could very easily just make everyone know you by infusing yourself into their brains, which means no freedom for us.
I disagree. God wouldn't need to infuse himself into our brains. He could just beam the information needed to our brains. Also, the title in question of your video is, Why Doesn't God Just Show Himself? If God showed himself, it doesn't logically follow we'd have no free will and would have to accept him, but rather we would know he exists, and from that knowledge we could choose to submit or reject him. So we could still have this supposed free will.
Do you agree or disagree?
But you can't force a relationship. Who does that? I mean, would you rather your spouse choose you out of their own, free choice? Or because you somehow altered their mind and will?
God wouldn't have to take away our supposed free will. All God would have to do is let us know he exists. Also, if being unconvinced of God's existence puts me at risk of eternal suffering, I would rather God brainwash me and take away my free will. I think being a pre-programmed robot and as a result avoiding eternal agony with no free will is far more preferable over being cast into the lake of fire where the smoke of their torment will ascend
Forever and ever.
Or you could just become one of them. Cross over into their time and space, their history, and take on all those little things that make us human.
If God did that, would he be alive in human form for every generation and be known by every person to walk the earth? Or would he only come to earth as a human thousands of years after creating mankind and then go back to heaven and be absent for another 2,000 plus years?
Which one of these do you think would be the best way to reveal yourself?
Okay, let's recap the ways God could reveal himself according to this video. God could just reveal himself in his truest form. God could give us a cosmic show. God could reveal himself to each person individually.
Larry is greeted now by an agent of the Internal Revenue Service.
God could infuse himself into everybody's brain. And lastly, God could come to earth as a man 2,000 years ago, which I think is the most inept way of doing it. Ironically, that's the way this Christian YouTuber thinks God did it.
It's nice to actually take a break and have a little fun.
And if you do become one of them, you could go as anyone you want. A king, a political ruler, a powerful CEO, a superhuman, someone born in that thing you feed your animals out of. I don't know about you, but I know which one I'm following. But is that enough?
Yeah, no, it's not enough. Although I think Jesus likely existed, I'm not convinced at all that he had supernatural powers, nor do I think he was the son of an all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipresent dictator named Yahweh. So...
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
I mean, you can't just show up in history and start telling everyone you're God. Hey, I'm God. People would either think you're out of your mind crazy or just 100%.
Agreed.
You'd need something else. What if you pre-announced that you were coming? You could inspire a bunch of different writers from different times and different places, all to write about you long before your foot ever hit the ground.
Nope, that didn't happen. You can post hoc, misinterpret, and reinterpret countless Bible verses to fit your narrative, sure. But that proves
Nothing.
And what about those who have never heard of Jesus or his daddy? What about those who haven't read the Bible or even know about the existence of the Bible? How are they supposed to know about all the supposed evidence when they don't even know what a Bible is?
In fact, you'd be the only human being in the history of the world ever to be pre-announced.
Where exactly was Jesus
Pre-announced.
and what empirical evidence do you have for such claims? Please tell us how out of all the possible ways God could reveal himself to mankind, that this convoluted way would be the most convincing, especially considering how trivial and debatable your position is. Does it not give you pause in the slightest that not even the Jews, the very people who believe in the Old Testament, where all these quote-unquote prophecies about Jesus coming, don't even believe Jesus was the Son of God? If not even God's
Chosen people.
believe Jesus was the one being prophesied, I feel that would make you think that maybe, just maybe, you and other Christians are mistaken.
I mean, obviously everything you said and did would be absolute.
Everything Jesus said was absolute truth? Well, that's a bit strange, especially when you consider he spoke in parables and metaphors. You know, speaking in such a manner that everyone can interpret to mean whatever narrative they already hold on to. It's already bad enough Jesus didn't speak clearly. He spoke Aramaic 2,000 years ago, a language that less than 1 million people speak today. I'm not knocking the Aramaic language, mind you, but it does add to the confusion on top of trying to understand what his metaphors even meant, assuming he said any of these things at all.
But we don't always get it. We like signs and wonders to confirm things. So maybe you could do some kind of great signs and wonders to confirm things. Why doesn't God just show himself?
Yeah, okay. We should just trust the claims of very old manuscripts. Should we also trust the claims in the Quran or any other religious holy book? I mean, hell, if we found a document from just 10 years ago that claimed a man was abducted by aliens, wouldn't you be skeptical? Or should we just believe that too? I know you already know this, but people make all kinds of claims. That doesn't make them true. Anyway, at the end of the day, if God is real, again, I've already said this before, but it just wouldn't matter what way you or I think would be the best way for God to reveal himself, because he's all-knowing. For example, if I said, I think the best way for God to reveal himself is
Option X.
And let's just say option X is agreed upon by philosophers, scientists, and 100% of the population. Well, since God has all knowledge, he might have an even better way.
Option Y.
And option Y might even be better than option X. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate you trying to reason why God is so hidden and whatnot, I really do, but I'm just not impressed, unfortunately. But before I wrap this up, I'll say here what I've said in a previous video. If Yahweh exists and wants me to believe in him, and yet I don't believe in him, this leads me to conclude one of the following. 1. God doesn't want me to believe in him. 2. God has failed to convince me of him. Or 3.
God doesn't exist.
If you can think of a fourth reason, let me know. Until next time, take care.